What's up, everybody, and welcome into the Backliners podcast. Aggro and Barracuda as per usual, but today we are joined by Barry's beloved teammate, who he used to cry to me after every single podcast episode. Why can't we just have Baskin back? I'd give him my spot. I'd give him my house. The usual things. Baskin, I'm sure you hear all the time from him now. It's Baskin joining the show. Wooney, welcome in. And I have to let everybody know, of course, right off the rip here, that this episode of the Backliners is sponsored by Factor Meals. You can get great meals. I'll tell you a little bit about more later on, but just head on over to go.factor75.com/backliners in order to get Backliners 60, I believe. I should have written this one down, fellas. I'm realizing now that I've made a grave mistake, and I am now scrolling on my phone to find it. Here it is. Oh, I got it. I'm so on it. Go.factor75.com/backliners60 to get 60% off your first box. That's 60. Go.factor75.com/backliners60. Yeah, Wooney, welcome in and welcome back to the SPL. And congratulations, guys, on not your first win, which I incorrectly told the prediction people, but your second win. It's the first win. Yeah, I was gonna say it probably felt like the first win in a while. You know, it had been a little bit.
A little bit of painful journey between the Scarabs and the Warriors sets. So yeah, we're getting there, and it wasn't the most stress-free time outside of Smite. So just crawling our way back, and we watched back the games and. There's still a lot of mistakes that we're making. Yeah.
What?
And we lost a game while we played perfectly. Pretty impressive.
Wow, they must
Nothing
have played
we can do about that game.
They must have played really well for that game.
So we are getting better. We just need to continue defining how we're playing the game. Unfortunately, I think we're sometimes a bit lost on what to do at certain points of the game, unfortunately.
Right.
But I think it's smoothing out slowly, very slowly.
Well, there you go. I said right, by the way, not as right. You guys are messing up at a lot of different points in the game.
The VOD review did
that would
show,
also be right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, maybe a little bit of that, but overall, certainly good. And against a team in the Oni Warriors that.
Yeah, those guys are terrible.
Those guys suck.
I was gonna say are great, but apparently are absolute dog. No, what I mean,
we've beaten him every time, in the normal phase. So we kind of knew going into it it'd be an easy dub. We gave him one for false hope, and then
you just got their number. I suppose that's all there is to it. Baskin, for you, what has it been like, kind of hopping back into the swing of SPL? How's that been for you?
It's definitely I still feel like I'm not fully back into the swing, even though it has been some time. Definitely was weird playing Smite again, and also just scrimming again, and the weirdest thing for me was calming, because even though I did it for so long, I just wasn't used to giving and receiving comms in scrims. And that was probably the weirdest thing for me. And I was especially when I first came back, and even still a little now, I was just missing a lot of buttons. But yeah, I'm still getting back into it.
Getting back into it, Barry. You started laughing when he's talking about giving and being ready for the comms. What any particular memory coming to mind there? Maybe.
No, of course not.
None at all, huh? Nothing to share. Nothing you wanna.
No, not that we can get into right now, But it is really funny watching someone as mechanically good as Baskin, be confused about what a god does and have to ask us. It's a really humbling experience to witness. He's oh yeah, I'm so good at the game, but what's this god do? What is this interaction? What's that item do? Or oh yeah, today it was about the attack speed, what caps attack speed. It's just funny because I feel I know those things, but then it's Baskin, the god himself, is asking. It's just nice, It's nice to be on this side.
Well, I'll say that a few weeks ago when Baskin was getting ramped up and starting scrimming, and he played a Yu Huang game in our Discord and was streaming it.
Man.
And I was like, at one point I realized I was like, wait, I'm just backseating Basket at this point. Like I'm literally just telling Wooney what to do, and I was like, I probably shouldn't do that, but it was like funny because was that your first Yu Huang game ever, Basket? I think it was like one of your first or second or something like that.
Yeah, it was either my first or maybe my second, but yeah, that ult is super like hard to figure out. Like or like once you play it a decent amount, it's like you kind of get the feel for it, but like when you first like start like shooting it, it's really weird. It's like 2 skill shots in one.
Yeah, it was real. It was just like Wooney would be insta-firing his 2 like when he could have been charging it for his passive, and I was like, I could have charged that one for your passive if you wanted to. I mean, it's fine if you didn't. Like, I'm sure you didn't because otherwise you would have. But he
Sorry,
was
sir.
like, oh yeah,
Didn't mean to bring it up.
oh yeah, I forgot I could do that. But but just like whipping ults and all that kind of stuff. But it's been fun, and you know, I think that certainly it has been I don't think that, and this is not the part of the podcast where we talk about how Baskin is God's gift to Smite. That's next week's episode. But
Really?
Oh, we can make it. We'd make it.
Yeah, I thought
Okay.
it was this one.
well, all right. Well, you
Yeah.
know, he's God's gift to Smite, all that kind of stuff. And there are not many players who would be able to take an extended break and then come back and perform. You know, I know you said it wasn't the level that you want to necessarily quite yet, but still good enough to beat a team who's in contention for first place. But you know, certainly I feel like the thing that a lot of Bolts fans are probably looking for is some degree of consistency. Do you guys feel like having a big win right before a bye week is a good way to end that half and be like, you know, ending it on a positive note, or are you kind of sad that you can't carry any momentum? Barra, you seem to be ready to jump on this one.
Any positives are a good thing for the team, no matter how we were struggling.
Beggars can't be choosers, yada yada.
Yeah, and the King said on Friday, like, we got hard stomped. It felt
It
like
was rough.
we didn't even play the game. And then game 1 of Warriors happened. I'm like, we're not playing the game again. Let's go! And then, like, finally game 2 and 3, we started doing, like, plays on the map. And that is such a breath of fresh air to not watch the other team play Smite for 20 minutes while you just, like, sit there and don't make plays. Or, like, the plays you do make are, like, the most forced, awkward plays. And you're just like, I guess we're here. I guess we're doing this. So, yeah, definitely felt good to have like good rotations from everyone around the map, and just, I mean, obviously, like our shot calling is being refined for what we want to do on the map, but it's definitely getting better. And I mean, we're still like struggling, obviously, but any wind in our sails is much appreciated.
Yeah, fair enough. Baskin, you feel the same way?
Yeah, I definitely agree. I mean, like we were super happy like when we were ending game 3, just because like I remember I was screaming like "Yay, no more defeat screen" or something like that, and Ben was like, I couldn't even hear what Ben was saying because he was just yelling like a bunch of different things. But yeah, I think even though we can't carry the momentum, I think it's just like good to finally get a win, especially against I mean we were joking about it earlier, but I think Onis were first, right?
Yeah, if they would have won that set, they would have finished in first. I forget exactly where they are as a result of that. I'm heading to the standings as we speak. And that knocked them down to third, but I think they would have had the tiebreaker over the Leviathans, who ended up finishing first.
Yeah, they were really hot, so yeah, definitely a good win to pick up for the confidence, stuff like that.
And also, like, a lot of our losses were so close before, like, the Kings and Dragons sets, I think. So we were, like, right on the cusp, and then the Dragon set happened. I was like, we're not playing Smite. And then the Kings happened. I'm like, we're still not playing Smite. So you don't want to be that bottom-end team that plays against the top-end teams, and it's like, what are we even doing? Like, what's even happening on the map? Like, I feel like nothing's going our way. And then to have that set against the Warriors is just so nice.
Yeah, definitely feels like a good way to end it, at least this first half of Phase 3. Baskin, I did want to ask you how our good pal John here is he any different from the last time you guys teamed together? When was the last time you guys teamed together? It must have been season 3, right?
4 or 5, I think. He was a
No,
mid laner
not
in 4.
5, right?
I
I think 4.
Wait, Wait, I think 5 was when we did the swap with Vin, and you went
No,
to
that was 4,
Ghost?
right?
That was 4?
I
That
think.
must
What
have
was
been. You went to E United. Here, just 3 like absolute idiots just trying to figure out like just saying numbers back and forth. No, I think it was 7. No, it was. Chad is saying season 5. Was that really season 5, dude? It is crazy how
Wait.
when I was casting, I felt like I could have written a perfect like timeline of a million different things in SPL history, and I felt like I was so locked in. Like no one was more locked in than me most of the time, and it hasn't even been a year of me not casting, and I feel like I forget literally everything. I don't have it all together anymore. Yeah, season 4 United won Worlds. So and then it was season 5.
Oh yeah, and then season 5. Okay.
Right. So yeah, it was season 5. But yeah, getting back to the original question, what besides being just a few years older, is Barry any different than he was then, or still pretty much the same?
I mean, well, he was in his 20s back then, so I guess that's like a difference.
He could press his relics on time, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I feel like that's the thing that's really going for me, Barry. I don't know about you, but I feel like my relic usage as I've gotten older has just been absolutely abysmal.
Yeah, I feel like I feel like I'm just becoming more Zap, and I either press him when I don't need to press him, or I press him and I'm just like, why did I press those? Like, that was so stupid.
Is Zap older than you?
No, he's 1 year younger.
1 year younger. I was gonna say maybe he was just afflicted by this all the time, but
I'm protecting Zap in the league right now. Have you know?
Oh, are you?
Once I leave, the throne is his. So he's just waiting by.
Wait, really? Is he the second?
Yeah.
Oldest?
Yeah, he's gotta be, right? Dude, I always think, like, when I think about the oldest players in the SPL, I'm always like, okay, Bara and Zap for sure, and then, like, surely it's, like, Ven, and then I remember that Ven is, like, super young, but for whatever reason...
Ven's younger than me.
Is he really younger than you?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Holy crap, dude, that is wild to me. Something about Ven, man, it's not, I don't mean it as an insult. It's not about his play, it's just he brings a level of maturity, in some ways.
Well,
in some ways, yeah. We'll go with that.
But
yeah, sorry to cut you off for like the 4th time about it, Baskin. Besides Bara being old, though that is key, of course.
Yeah,
Thanks,
that's the main thing.
Okay, fair enough. Just getting a little older, complaining about his back
any
more.
Compliment would be nice.
Well, he doesn't need to.
Yeah.
It's only don't make anything up, Baskin. If there's nothing there.
No, please do.
Okay. That is funny that you mentioned the back problems though, because I remember like my first week on the team, or maybe it was the second week, Barrow was having like really bad back problems. And then I also hurt my back around the same time. So I was like, damn, I'm getting old too. I can't roast Barry anymore. But
Okay, Baskin, this is a story about this is TeamSpeak business, so I apologize if you don't want it out there, but I think it's appropriate for this time. A couple months ago, Barra, I get an urgent call from Meerkat, who is a frequenter of our Discord, of course, and he goes, "Hey man, Baskin has a question for you." And I hop on Discord and I'm like, "What's up, guys?" And Baskin clearly did not want to ask the question that he had posed to Meerkat. And so Meerkat took the lead and said, "Yeah, Baskin was asking if life is worth living after you turn 30, or if it's just like not even worth it anymore."
Oh no! Oh no!
And I informed him that in a lot of ways it's actually a lot better, except for like your back and all. I think so. I would consider my 30s better than my 20s so far.
I mean, you're just older, you're slower, your muscles are a little tighter, getting up in the morning's a little harder.
damn.
Just basically the difficulty of life is increasing.
Yeah, I mean,
every year.
Kind of getting conflicting answers here.
Yeah, look, another year of light comes out of your eyes, and there's nothing you can do about that. But, you also are a little bit wiser, you have a little bit more life experience, you are more in tune with yourself, you get to...
That is true.
Understand how you work a little bit better, all that kind of stuff is good about turning 30. The back stuff, and dude, I went disc golfing 2 days in a row when my friend was in town over the weekend, and my shoulder is like still sore
Yep.
from it. And I even
your-
stretched. I stretched, you guys. I
Damn.
never stretch. I've never
You stretched
stretched
before
in my-
Maybe
disc
that's
golf?
why.
Yes, I stretched before and after. Because I never
Damn.
stretch, and I was like, I'm gonna be too sore if I don't stretch. There you go. Let that be a lesson to all you young ones out there. Keep on not stretching. It doesn't work when you stretch.
Just tighten your body.
Right.
But that is actually a thing. If you hurt yourself, you'll be feeling it for like 2 to 3 days.
Every time.
Like, if you sleep, like, I slept weird. I can't remember when it was. It was sometime this year, like January or February. I slept somehow on my side without a pillow, so my neck was just like that, basically. Well, good podcast material. Basically, my neck was
Sideways.
against my shoulder. Yeah.
Right.
And I had tightness and pain over there for 2 or maybe 3 days straight.
Yep.
And I was like, I can't stretch this out like this. I'm just permanently gonna be stuck this way. Like, and then it finally went away. And I was just thinking, I was like, I feel like when I was younger, that would have gone away like that morning or like that afternoon, and then it just stays with you.
I'm just revealing things about people that I know that I have not made sure that they're okay with me saying.
This is a
but
drama episode.
We're already in there. Here's a fun fact about my dear lovely wife. When she first started like staying over at my place, I was like, okay, and here's a pillow that you can use, and she was like, I don't really use pillows. I just like sleep on the mattress without a pillow. And I was like,
Wait, what?
what? I was like, you don't use a pillow? And she was like, well, I sleep on my stomach and it just like raises my neck and it's uncomfortable. So yeah, I just like don't. And she occasionally I'd like walk into my room and she like at night, because she goes to bed way earlier than me, and her head would be like underneath the pillow because she was so used to sleeping on the mattress. And I was like, this is not how other people sleep. And now she has learned how to use a pillow for everyone who's potentially worried about her. But
Okay.
yeah.
I was question marking that in my head, but then I realized that I did the exact same thing. I would
What?
have a pillow there, but I would just move it to the side and just lay on the mattress.
Wait, how? Wait, it makes
Like,
sense
I
if
would
you're
lay on
sleeping
my
your
stomach.
I think. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that it's actually. I think it's actually better for you.
Oh, okay.
not
No,
to use a
guys,
pillow. If you're sleeping on your stomach.
if you're sleeping on your stomach,
Yeah.
you just rotate the pillow and then you put your head like on the top of it, and so then it's like kind of going down, supporting your neck and kind of like on your chest a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but the mattress is supporting my neck.
Well, not super well.
Mm,
Barry, go ahead and try that for me now that you're 30 and give me the results next week in your wheelchair or whatever. In your neck brace, you're gonna have to stay nice and still in that chair. I actually had to wear a neck brace for an extended period of time in high school, and that sucked.
For what?
I broke a vertebrae in my neck playing
Oh, jeez.
football and backyard football, and I had to wear a neck brace for a few months, and it was or for like a month or something like that. I don't remember exactly how long. It felt like an eternity, and it wasn't great. I'll tell you that much. Definitely not my favorite time, especially because the girl I had a crush on at the time thought it was very funny at lunch to sit behind me and then call my name, and I had to like turn my whole body around, and then she'd be like, never mind. And then I'd turn all the way back, and then she'd be like, oh, right, Ryan. And then I'd turn all the way around. Anyways, I'm really glad to be with my wife now.
That's a cute story.
It wasn't her. She's much cooler. She's much cooler than that girl. Don't worry. And she would only do that the exact same thing because, you know, she's funny like that. Anyways, getting back to some Smite. Yeah. Just keep on digging. That's all you got to do. So you guys get the win on Sunday up against the Warriors. I do want to get into the big story of the weekend, though, which is, of course, those roster changes. But before I do, gotta give you some words from one of our sponsors for today's episode, BetterHelp. You can tell I'm not feeling my best because I didn't have any good transition. Look, BetterHelp, we've told you about them in the past. This is a service that helps you find a therapist, matches you with the type of therapist that you're looking for, and it helps because it is very difficult, you know, with people's schedules and all that kind of stuff, and, you know, trying to figure out if you want in-person therapy or online therapy and all that kind of stuff. So it's really nice that BetterHelp allows you to find a therapist and work on a schedule that works for you. So, I forgot to say that I must say it's now a word from our sponsor, BetterHelp. But it's a lot of words, and I don't really love that line because it's a lot, it's not a word. And I've always had a bone to pick with that. But either way, Barry and I talk about it a lot. I was just talking about how you turn 30 and you get to know yourself a little bit better. You can get a little ahead of the schedule potentially if you start going to therapy and all that kind of stuff. But in all honesty, we are big proponents of that, and BetterHelp is a great service to help make that very difficult process a lot easier. So when you want to be a better problem solver, therapy can get you there. So visit betterhelp.com/backliners today to get 10% off your first month. That's betterhelp.com/backliners. Big thanks to BetterHelp for being a part of this week's episode. Okay, yeah. Crazy roster change happened this week.
Yeah.
Out
of nowhere.
Kind of out of nowhere. Normally, these types of things are brewing for a little bit. And, we hear about, I get word from someone who got word from someone who got word. There's the whole information network. This totally came out of nowhere from my perspective. But the Titans decide to part ways with Cyclone, and they pick up Stewart, leaving the Scarabs with some choices to make. They end up moving your core over to ADC and picking up Heroind as their support. And we can talk about how they looked overall here in a minute, but just wanted to get your guys' thoughts on this roster change in general. I guess let's start with the Titans. Baskin, what do you think this does for the Titans? Do you like this move for them? Are you surprised? Like, whatever type of perspective you want to give.
Well, I was definitely surprised because, especially because Cyclone is such a good player, and Cyclone and Aurora have been teaming together for
years,
4 years now, right? Something
yeah.
Super long or something.
Season
like
5,
yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think Stewart's a really good. Okay, I hope he's not watching this, but Stewart's a really good individual player. So I think individually, in terms of ADC versus ADC, it's almost like a lateral move. But from what I understand, Cyclone did do a lot of their shot calling.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I've heard. I'm not sure if it's true, but I heard that he did a lot of their late game shot calling. So I think whenever you lose a shot caller like that, it's definitely gonna affect the team, and then someone else has to step in the role and stuff like that. So I would say for the time being, it kind of hurts the Titans. But then there's also there's a reason why they made the change or whatever. So there's internal stuff maybe. No one really knows.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of hard to tell. But for the Scarabs, I actually think it's a huge upgrade just because I think Jark is really insane at ADC.
Yeah.
And I think Heroin is also a good communicator / team leader / maybe even shot caller, which I think the Scarabs sort of needed some direction when it came to that kind of stuff. So
mm-hmm.
I think it could end up being good for both teams, honestly.
Yeah, I think that's very, very likely to happen, which is not always the case with roster changes where a player leaves, but one team. But I think it could be the same. Barrow, same question to you. Starting with the Titans,
mm-hmm.
What were your thoughts on that?
I mean, obviously, same as Baskin. I think it's a internal change because I don't think it was based off of his performance.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't think Spinner has had his best year ever by any means, but I don't think that he was the reason they were losing games or even close to that. I still think he's an insanely good player and obviously has more tenure than most of the people in SPL for what to do in different situations. So, and I think as Baskin said, he was doing a lot of their shot calling and decision making and what they wanted to do map wise. So losing someone like that, I think it's going to take Titans a while to recover. I mean, I think it's up to. I think they'll win games if Sot's doing Sot things, and because I think on that tier game this past weekend he just hard farmed everyone. He just he lived forever, and then he's just killing everyone. If a player on team's doing that, you're not going to lose. But
right.
I think once you have a once you're actually in that even 5v5 space, like around fire and around objectives in general, or like pushing towers, I think it becomes much harder. And we didn't really get to see like exactly what would happen if they were in those situations.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's gonna be better for Titans some ways and way worse in others. Just because if it was like internal issues or people like not getting along with each other, then that's gonna like immediately remedy it. And I assume Stu is like really good friends with Sot. I don't know about the rest of the team, but I know he's like boys with Sot, so you have that connection there. And then I think the rest of their team's like pretty easy to work with. So I don't think that'll be an issue. But for as like actual game, for what happens on like the battlefield of the gods, we'll see like what happens when Sot's not hard carrying.
Right.
And then for Scarabs, I think it is a large increase. I think Yark is much better at ADC than he was at support. And I mean, not bashing Yark, I think support's literally the hardest role to swap to.
Yep.
Out of every role, I think support is by far the hardest.
Yeah, I'd probably agree with that.
And I think he can
There's
just pick
no
up.
way.
Really? You don't think so?
I think
Yeah, that role is
this
kind
guy's
of
gonna say solo.
easiest. I would say solo.
No way
Okay,
you think it's solo,
It's either
man.
solo or jungle for sure. I mean, okay, let's be honest, guys. Like, support's probably like 5th in terms of difficulty.
Okay. No, it's actually ADC is 5th, for the record.
Okay, yeah, ADC is
Yeah,
fine.
for sure.
Okay,
ADC is definitely
it's
fifth.
support and then ADC.
No, the reason I think support is harder is because jungle is at least doing the same thing throughout the course of the game, right? They don't have to do a laning phase. Supports have to do a laning phase and then they have to be jungle too. Like, that's kind of what they have to do. You have to learn 2 totally separate things
Okay.
that you haven't had to do. Whereas
I
every other role, it's just laning phase, team fight. You have to learn laning phase, jungle 2, team fight as support. It's just an extra factor.
I mean, I don't think just because you have to do different things that makes it that. Like, supports just die in the laning phase, and then they just go jungle, and they die in the jungle. It's like, is it really that hard? Like,
That is okay.
Okay.
That's a good point. That is a good point.
like, someone posted a screenshot this past weekend of the games, and like both supports were like 0-5 or something like that, or like one support was like 0-5, and like the other one was like 0-6 or something like that. And I'm pretty sure they were both having like decent games, and I'm pretty sure like I don't know. Like, the role can't be that hard if you spend half the time, like, in the death screen. I don't know. That's just my opinion.
I mean, it requires a different skill set. Being willing to die is certainly part of that skill set. But yeah, I don't know. I agree that Yark, I'm sure, could have been at the level of his ADC at that in support, because I'm just a Yark stan and think that guy is a Smite genius. But
you can't say that Baskin's right here. Like,
No, that guy's actually cracked.
Listen, there can be multiple multi-role prodigies here. Okay,
sorry.
We got Baskin, we got Spinner, like he's one of them, and we got Yark. Those have got to be 3 of the best role swappers of all time. Also, have to give shout outs to Twig. Speaking of someone who's willing to die, not in support but in mid. But yeah, I think that obviously Yark and ADC was one of, if not the best ADCs during his like phase. One phase there.
Yep. He was cracked.
So feel like it's good there. Are you guys surprised at all? I mean, I don't know anything about the Scarabs process or anything like that, but in this situation, you would obviously try out Cyclone Spin if he wants to still play. Maybe Cyclone said he wants to take a break, whatever. I saw that is his plan on Twitter. Would you have been interested in just picking up Cyclone if he is the shot caller for the Titans, which I've also heard, and they need a shot calling voice? I'm a little surprised that, I don't think that the direction they went is bad by any means. Don't get me wrong. I think that it's really solid, but you've got one of the most successful shot callers of all time in Cyclone Spin, based on record over his time in the SPL. Maybe he didn't want to play, but yeah, I was a little surprised that it wasn't just a straight up swap, if that was the case. Barra, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I kind of thought it was going to be a straight up swap too. I mean, obviously, I guess their lanes that they're looking at would be like Cyclone Yark and then like Yark Hurry. I was a little. I would say like I was like 80% surprised that it wasn't a direct swap.
Mm.
Obviously, like I love Hurry, and I think he's gotten a lot better at support. And
Mm-hmm.
I think we scrimmed them like the first or second day, and
Yep.
he was way better than I thought he would be. Um, and I was just really impressed with Hurry. And I think when you have a player that was kicked out of SPL and then coming back in, like the fire they're gonna have in them to practice as hard as they possibly can and be the best that they possibly can, I think that's kind of like unrivaled.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that him and Sam are like really good friends as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that they'll work together a lot and like feed off of each other. And it could be like they don't think that they would have gotten along with Spinner or meshed as well. Like even if like the shot calling is that different, you know,
Sure.
they might have not thought about that either. Yeah, I don't know how good they would have been with Spinner. I think it's just like a question mark either way. And for me,
Sure.
like, picking up Yark Hurry or like Spinner Yark.
Yeah. Baskin, I mean, you teamed with Hurry not too long ago. That was, what, end of season 7?
Yeah, season 7.
That you joined United pretty late. Do you think that he can be... I mean, it's pretty clear just from the outside looking in that the Scarabs have really lacked direction as a team since this phase started and since they made all the roster changes and all that kind of stuff. Do you think that he's the right type of player for them to pick up, even if he is in a role that he hasn't played in the SPL previously?
Yeah, I think so. Well, when I teamed with them, Hurry was mid, obviously,
Mm-hmm.
but support's a way more like proactive role and like a way more like vocal role, and Hurry is definitely a vocal player. I also think like Sam isn't like the most like talkative of junglers,
Mm-hmm.
like just from what I've heard, and I think that it's just super important to have a very vocal player in like one of your roaming roles, like support or jungle, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I think that's definitely a step in the right direction for them.
Yeah, I think that... I mean, they won... They beat the Valks, which
Mm-hmm.
was, what, their first win of the phase, I believe?
Yeah.
Yep.
So automatically, gotta say that they're playing better based off of that alone. But, you know, I think that the it's interesting to me. I tweeted about it as well right after this roster change, but I'm very interested in what Stu is going to do and how much of a focal point he's going to be for the Titans, because I say this not specifically to Stu in any way, because I am a Stu believer. Don't anybody tell Sino I said that. I'm a Stu believer. I think that he's really good, and I think that he's going to have a chance to really like pop off and show off during the Titans' pretty likely Worlds run that they will almost certainly go on based on their roster. But I think it is easy to stand out at times, especially as a player who, if you haven't watched SCC or anything like that, you might not have been familiar with Stu, and then he walks in this carry role and looks like he can carry games on a team that isn't very successful all the time. And I think that it is, you know, there will be a lot... Stu has had a lot of games that have been pretty rough on the Scarabs, and that is very normal for a team that is not doing consistent winning. For all of your players to have a lot of games where they look pretty rough. I just think that sometimes in the past, players are overrated because they've only been on teams that don't see a lot of success, and they have the occasional good game, and then everyone thinks that they just, you know, they're being held back by their team. They just need a shot, all that kind of stuff. Again, I'm not saying that as an indictment on Stu. He can only play with the teams that he can play on. This is his big opportunity. But I do think that I am definitely going to be watching what Stu does on an individual level now that there is a higher level of expectation for what that team is going to do. Baskin, do you agree with the overall sentiment that sometimes players on bad teams get a little overhyped because of the occasional good game.
Yeah. I mean, I do agree with that, kind of. Like, but I also think that, I mean, I've been playing against Stu for a long time because he was in the SEC when I was in the SEC,
Mm-hmm.
and then obviously this split. I actually think that guy is like super insane individually. I don't know how his like comms are and everything like that, and like I said before, like Cyclone's a shot caller. I'm not sure if he is, but he is like really insane like individually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I
Um,
definitely don't disagree. Just I always get excited whenever I get excited for two reasons. Whenever a player from a lower end team joins a higher echelon team, and it's number one that I'm excited that a player is getting that type of opportunity, even if their team hasn't seen success, that their talent is being recognized. And number two, it's because it's a different type of pressure and a different type of environment, and it just gives you a more holistic and complete view of that player and who they are as you know, a teammate and as a player and all that kind of stuff. Barra, your thoughts?
I think it goes both ways, where he can be having a worse game but look really good because his front line's making like infinite room. And then I think it can also be the way that you described it, where he can be playing like better, but it's just like, oh, that's just expected now, and like that's like the standard what he should be doing. But I think, I mean, on that roster, I think it's just down to tournament time,
Yeah.
because I don't think they were ever really like that crazy during normal splits. I mean, I think they were like top 4, but I don't think they were like hard winning until like tournament time. And then I think Spinner and Paul as a backline together is like one of the most mechanically cracked backline shot calling beasts that you could ever have. So I think we'll have to wait until like everything's like on the table to see what actually happens. I don't think the normal phase really matters too much for this phase.
Yeah, I mean, fall is definitely like when the fall split is when things start really coming together, and you're looking for those players who can be a big factor in your team. And speaking of fall and factor, now that fall is officially here, and with a new season comes a new routine, especially for Stu. But if you're like me, you get sick of the same old day after day. Luckily, Factor's ready-to-eat meal delivery makes it easy to switch things up with 30-plus meal choices per week, 36-plus weekly add-ons, and an option to add protein to select vegan or veggie meals each week. And whether I'm out and about all day or just cozying up at home, Factor's fresh, never frozen meals make it easy to fuel up fast with meals delivered ready to heat and eat in just 2 minutes. This is an honest to God true story. The other day, Lermy and I were talking while doing some work stuff, and she was like, hey, don't you guys have like a Factor sponsorship? I was thinking about trying like Factor. Did you get to try any? And I said, I did. And I am 100% telling you, even if you use another like discount code or whatever, which obviously no one should,
100%.
that it is actually really good. I am not kidding. These meals are legitimately delicious. I thought about them today and how I need to place another order because I was hungry and we hadn't gotten a chance to go grocery shopping, and instead got some like crappy McDonald's and was like, this sucks. It sucked. It didn't taste good. Didn't feel good. And I had to like drive in the middle of my day. It's only 5 minutes away, but you gotta like go drive and then come back.
That's another thing about hitting 30, by the way. If you eat something that's bad,
God.
you feel bad.
You feel so bad, dude. That's probably why I feel like crap tonight, man, is that I just had
Probably,
like a crappy lunch. That'll really do it. But yeah, tons of different options with Factor. Vegan, veggie. They can do things like keto, calorie smart, and they're all chef-crafted, dietitian-approved recipes that you'll look forward to every single time. So it saves you time, saves you effort. I'm not doing dishes in the middle of the day, so quit asking. I'm never cooking my own lunch. It absolutely will not happen. But I can microwave a little thing and have a really delicious, healthy meal ready to go for me. So head on over to go.factor75.com/backliners60 and use code backliners60 to get, you guessed it, 60% off your first box. That's code backliners60 at go.factor75.com/backliners60 to get 60% off your first box. Big thanks to Factor. Did you guys know that I took, part of my on-camera broadcasting degree, I had to take radio. I took a class on voiceover reads and radio ads and all that kind of stuff. And 60 is the type of word that I always got in trouble with. That I never really got over. My enunciation.
Like saying it?
Yes, 60 is a tough word to not make it sound like you're saying 6D, right? Like the letter D. I have
60.
You have to really over enunciate the T, and that's just not how I naturally pronounce it.
I
it's
heard
tough.
you say that, and I was like, that sounds weird. I feel like you're like forcing it.
I have to in order to make sure that no one's trying to go to backliner, go.factor75.com/backliners 6D like it's their seat on a flight or something like that, The number 60.
Yeah.
60.
I can see that.
I got to get back on my enunciation grind. That's really fallen off.
That's a grind that you have.
No. The last thing I wanted to talk about in regards to this roster change, there was a lot of hoopla, insert SpongeBob reference here, about how the Scarabs are a quote-unquote feeder team to the rest of the SPL, and that there were some posts on the subreddit and some discussion on Twitter and all that kind of stuff about how it's a real shame that the Scarabs roster keeps getting blown up, and how there should be roster locks in the middle of phases and all that kind of stuff in order to stop players getting poached. Yeah, that was the word, poached, from this roster. And I can't read anything without immediately developing a strong opinion, so you shouldn't be surprised that I had a strong opinion about this. But I truly and legitimately do not understand how anyone who isn't a diehard Scarabs fan could get upset and think that roster locks in the middle of the phase or in the middle of the season or anything like that. There are roster locks towards the end of the year, don't get me wrong, but that it is an injustice what has happened to the Solar Scarabs. Look, don't get me wrong. It sucks for them that they have made so many roster changes. A lot of them.
It's not even even close to the same team that it was.
It isn't.
Yeah.
It just isn't, and that's unfortunate for them. And I feel for them. It makes it hard to get better and grow as a team and as individuals. I'm not disputing that. But if teams that are struggling can't be picked up, if players on teams that are struggling can't be picked up by better teams in that year, that loses a whole aspect in my mind of motivation for those players to keep playing their best and trying their hardest to win individually, because players' individual brands, quote unquote, their stock as players among the rest of the league is all of their value. Like, right? If you want to look at what makes players get picked up, I kind of consider that player stock, and playing well on a bad team is the only way to raise your stock if your team isn't winning. So if you're on a team that you're killing it and everyone else stinks, but you're stuck there for the rest of the year, it's really hard to keep trying your absolute hardest to win all the time and giving it your all and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, well, I got, in 10 months, I'm going to be talking to other people who might want me on their roster. Like, that just seems so soul killing to me. It's unfortunate for the Scarabs, don't get me wrong, but I think this is the system working as intended. It shouldn't be, everyone's just viewing it as a punishment for the Scarabs that Scream and Stu got poached by other teams. I view it as those two being rewarded for their good play on a team that didn't consistently see success. And I just don't understand another way to view it And I wanted to get your perspectives as players. Barry, you can go ahead first.
All right, it's a team that's lost to two SEC teams that lands back to back. So
and everyone will say it's because they they made roster changes, all this kind of stuff. It is like that's not how it works, right? Like,
yeah, you should still be able to beat an SEC team as an SPL team. Like, I don't know. That's just such a bad take, and it's just like a copium take. I think like, oh, if these guys had stuck together for the whole year, they'd be so much better now.
Yep.
But we don't know the inner workings of the team. We don't know like how they talk to each other, if they're enjoying their time on the Scarabs, if they're enjoying being on the bottom like 2 or 3, like wherever they are on the ladder. And I mean, if I was a player on the Scarabs, I would be looking to join on their team. That's just, it is what it is. And I think at this point of the Scarabs, I don't know if people would leave to other teams because, like I said earlier, it's literally a completely different team. Like that team on paper should be good.
Yeah.
And they should be able to at least break into like top 5 in my opinion. But with how stacked SPL is right now, it's like, is that all it takes? Like you just need like a good roster on paper, which in my opinion is what they have.
Mm-hmm.
And it's much more about like how you work together and et cetera, et cetera. But I just think that's such a bad take for like people leaving the roster on one of the worst teams. Like that, if anything, like that should be a blessing that they're not on that anymore. And I'm not like roasting Scarabs, but like as a player, you wouldn't want to be on the bottom team. That's just it. You just get like this like scarlet letter basically.
Mm-hmm.
You're just tagged with that. And once you leave, like look at what happened to Scream. Like Scream immediately started popping off. Look at what's going to happen to Stu. Like I don't know. It's just that's such a bad take.
Yeah, I think that people get so wrapped up in the identity of the team that they forget that these individuals, obviously you want your team to win when you're on it. Like no one's I'm not saying that players should try and stat pad on bad teams because they won't win anyways. Like that's not the point. And I don't think that anybody does that. Players are able to tell who's playing well and who isn't individually, even if the rest of the team isn't playing well, right? Like how many times during the Valkyries not winning at the very beginning of the year did, I would talk to other players and we'd come on this podcast and be like, yo, they're not winning, but Kiermi is like really popping off. And he's going 1-5 every game, right? But Kiermi is his stock among other players, which is all that matters, by the way, is going up because he's playing well on a team that isn't winning. And that is important because if a team needed a jungler, they might call Kiermi, and that is good for him. Is it bad for the Valks? Probably. But teams are just a combination of 5 players. So you want the things that are good for all the players so that the event, it is good for the teams. It's just like broken down a little bit differently. I don't know. Baskin, how do you feel about it?
I mean, yeah, I agree with what you guys are saying. I was a little confused, like, what people were upset at, like, when the news first broke and like people were complaining on Twitter. I didn't really read too much into it, but like, who were people mad at? Like, were they mad at like Stu for joining, or were they mad at Titans?
They were just mad that the Scarabs could get the short end of the stick like this. Is like they were mad at the system that enables a team to get their players taken over and over and over again. And the general sentiment, what I gathered at least, was that they felt like this system had prevented a Scarabs team that had a ton of potential from realizing that potential, is what they thought. This isn't even the same Scarabs team, so I guess I can just go like nuclear on the old team. It isn't even really nuclear. That team, if they had stuck together, the team that went to semis last year.
Oh yeah.
It wasn't happening this year, right? Like using the eye test and how they played early, losing SOT, and how they were playing. They lost to 2 SCC teams, as Vera said. Like, I don't. Yes, the 4 of those 5 players made it deep in Worlds the year before. Then they lost to an SEC team and were like 7th, 8th seed and not playing well all year. Scream was playing well enough to deserve to get picked up on another team. That's good for Scream. If Scream had stayed on that roster, that team would not have finished semifinals at Worlds this year. Like, Scream could have been there all year. They wouldn't have, like, it's just so, because we can't definitively say it opens this Pandora's box of, well, what if they got hot again? And it's like, yeah, we could keep rolling a D1 million and hope I get a 1 million. Or we can face the facts and realize that this team wasn't playing well and that everyone should just do whatever is best for them. And it isn't the system screwing over the team. It's the if they were playing well enough, Scream wouldn't have left. It's that simple. You got to let the players do what's best for them individually. And if the system doesn't let players do what's best for them, then it's not going to be a successful system, in my opinion.
Agreed. Yeah, like Scream. I mean, like, you don't see players leaving like the Kings or like the Dragons or whatever. Like, I don't know. Players want to be on good teams, and I feel like the only time roster lock should really be instated are like towards the very, very ends of the like the seasons.
Yep.
Like around LAN time, pretty much. But other than that, yeah, I don't really know why people are upset. This has also happened a bunch of times, right? Before?
Yeah, this happens all the
like,
time.
I don't know why this was the time that people chose to get upset about like roster locks and stuff. Maybe it's just because Scarabs, like,
it's the same team.
I mean, they are kind of like a
to.
feeder team, kind of, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, look, if I was a huge Scarabs fan, I would be frustrated too, and I have empathy for those people. But you just can't do it. And Billy in the chat says, you could have said that last year, and then they went crazy in Worlds, and that's just it. Yes, that is obviously the case, but they shouldn't just count on hoping to go crazy at Worlds time every year. It's just like SK, PK, those back-to-back years, they won back-to-back Worlds, and still look at the way that they got into Worlds. Look at the way that they played at Worlds. They end up winning. But if you look at it, it's a lot of like comebacks in series, comebacks in individual games, and that is not the ideal situation. Just because it works out doesn't mean that it was the best idea to begin with. Results-based thinking is not gonna get you what you want all the time. And I think that could they have gone crazy? Yeah, we could have again rolled the big dice and see what it came up with, and maybe they would have all had great performances. Or they could try and be on teams that, including on the Scarabs, by the way. Again, if they're playing well enough, no one will leave. And I know that it's hard to play well enough when you're losing your players, but this is what teams go through. It's just a little bit of a stretch of bad luck for the Scarabs. And they'll get their roster set for the remainder of this year, and they'll get their roster set next year, and they can see what happens,
It just seems so weird to blame the rules and not the players.
Yeah.
If the team wants to stay together, they're gonna stay together. If they don't want to stay together, if someone's gonna get poached, they're gonna get. I don't see how this is a rules issue. I genuinely don't.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make sense that people are mad at the rules and not the people leaving the team.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm getting debated.
Not saying you should go hate on people.
No, of course not.
Scarabs. It just
of course not.
Genuinely doesn't make sense to pitchforks in hands, chasing the rules around. You're to blame for this.
Right.
It just doesn't make sense.
Exactly. And I know I'm getting debated here by chat, and I apologize for it, but someone said, is consistency is the best even if you don't win the big prize? No, you obviously want to win the big prize. You just want to make it as easy as possible to win the big prize. And the best way to do that is by playing well all the time. And not what? Okay, sorry. That's my fault.
Didn't Sam leave PK or whatever to join the team that he beat in the finals? Because he thought that they were a more consistent, better overall team, even though they did beat them in the finals.
Yep.
Even though, I mean, it did end up not working out or whatever because they repeated or whatever, but still.
Yeah. I mean, the idea of wanting your player stock to be as high as possible will mean that team turnover is higher. And in all, like, there are very few instances where I feel like that's a bad thing, you know? Look at this offseason in between season 8 and 9 compared to in between season 7 and 8, right?
Yeah, it was brewing the whole time.
Like, well, yeah, it was brewing the whole time. But season 7, like, offseason between 7 and 8, fans loved that, as they should. Like, that's the stuff, you know? That's the fun part. That's it gets you excited to watch the new year and all that kind of stuff. Very few changes coming into this offseason, and everyone was saying it was boring, it was resident sleeper, same teams, all that kind of stuff. That's when team stock is, you know, if you want teams to be consistent, then it's not going to be as exciting. It's more exciting when lots of shakeups happen. I think it's just better as a viewing experience. I mean, I've gone on at length in the past about how roster changes I think are almost always a net positive. That if you're on a team with the same players for 2 years and you can give up a player and get a player who's the exact same skill level, it's literally the exact same player, it's their twin, but they were just on a different team for the last 2 years, that is good for you because it is making you re-solidify your ideas. It's challenging. It's just another way to challenge how you've been doing things and reconsider all that and make sure that you are all on the same page. I think that that's always beneficial for a team. Almost always beneficial. Of course, it isn't like that in reality because players aren't literally the exact same player, but I think that I've made my point. So yeah, I just don't understand that whole aspect of it. But you know, Twitter's gonna Twitter, Reddit's gonna Reddit. I'm gonna get on a soapbox on my podcast. All of these things are as guaranteed as the sun rising in whatever direction it rises in and setting in the other direction that it doesn't rise in.
Well done.
Thank you. Yep. And that is my monologue for the episode. All right, let me start pulling up some random questions of the week. But Baskin, I think you had something that you wanted to talk to Bera about, but you wanted to do it here in public.
Oh, yeah.
Is that the case?
Oh yeah. I have a question for you, Barrow. What type of a wireless provider do you use?
I use Mint Mobile, Baskin. Why are you?
Wait, Mint Mobile?
Yeah, Mint
No
Mobile.
way.
Yeah, I use Mint.
Did you know that for anyone who hates their phone bill, Mint Mobile offers premium wireless for just $15 a month?
Wait,
is that right?
$15? That's gotta be
$15
right.
a month? I thought I read it wrong, but it's actually right. It's actually $15 a month. Mint Mobile gives you the best rate whether you're buying for one or a family. And at Mint, family starts at 2 lines. To get your new wireless plan for just $15 a month and get the plan shipped to your door for free, go to mintmobile.com/backliners. That's mintmobile.com/backliners. One more time, that's mintmobile.com/backliners. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/backliners.
What can't he do, ladies and gentlemen? Unbelievable.
It won't pick up my clapping unless they talk. There you go.
Yeah, it really won't. Unbelievable. Baskin, well done. Again, mintmobile.com/backliners. That was very well done. That was I will say that as you were saying ship straight to your door for free, I was taking a sip out of my water and my brain went, do a spit take. Just spit it out. And I really thought about doing it, but it would have gone all over my monitor and it would have not been worth it at all. But well done there. Okay. Again, getting our random questions of the week from our Patreon Discord. Big shout outs to all of our patrons for helping support the show. If you want to help support us here on the Backliners, the best way to do so is to either use any of our sponsor links, which again for this episode are Factor at go.factor75.com/backliners60 to get 60% off your first box. BetterHelp.com/backliners to get 10% off your first few months at BetterHelp. And mintmobile.com/backliners for premium liner service for $15 a month. Or by going to, that was all off the top of the dome. I think I got them all right. I hope I did. Going to patreon.com/backliners. You get to be a part of our community Discord. We're going to go hang out there right after the show, Bear and I, to shoot the breeze with the gang and all that kind of good stuff. And you get to suggest your random questions of the week, which we definitely appreciate. So we're starting with Seafog, who I believe got this in a little bit after our show last week. What is a hobby you want to get into or have recently gotten into? This is a good question, Seafog. Baskin, any new hobbies for you?
Not any new hobbies. One hobby that I kind of want to get into, I was talking to Ron Jobbert about it a little bit, would be like some sort of like martial arts training, because I think it's a really good way to like stay in shape, and yeah, also it's a pretty popular thing nowadays. Like a lot of people are like picking it up. Like a couple people I knew in college started picking it up like recently, so good way to stay in shape.
Yeah, you hear that, Barra?
Do in the future.
Cool.
He's gonna fold you in half if you tell him anything about
Better never get soloed again.
Yeah, seriously, that's gonna be rough. I took Taekwondo as a kid, Baskin, because my uncle is a Taekwondo black belt and instructor.
God damn.
And it was fun. I definitely did not take it any type of seriously because I was like 11. But I remember enjoying it. I think it would be actually very
stuff, like do you know how to like kick someone?
Yep, you use your foot.
Wow.
Yeah, that one's for free. That's a little Taekwondo tip for you right there.
Write that down.
No, I really do think that like I haven't thought about my like Taekwondo classes at all as an adult. It literally has not crossed my mind since I was like 14 when I stopped. But I really do feel like, you know, it's a lot of like routines and just, you know, going through I'm going to end up using the wrong word here, but your forms and all that kind of stuff. And it's just like, you know, a certain sequence of kicks and punches and turns and all that kind of stuff. And I do feel like that would be really grounding in a way. Like as an adult, I have an appreciation for it that I never even, you know, as a kid, I'm just like a spaz. I just want to like kick blocks of wood and all that kind of stuff. But like, I could really understand now what it was trying to do, which was, and still like it's like a meditation, but it's active for your body at the same time. You know, your mind dude. That's a really good one, Baskin. I'm into that idea as well. Yeah. All of a sudden, I won't do it, but you know that's how.
You should talk to Ron about it because he recently picked it up, and that's
really?
what kind of got me thinking about it. Yeah,
that makes sense because he was just here 2 weekends ago and he kicked the ever loving crap out of me.
What?
Can you imagine if that's true? If Ron just like was at my house and beat the crap out of me, and I was like, oh, that would make sense. Bear, how about a hobby for you?
I don't know if this counts, but like running, like long distances.
That's one.
I don't know if that like is actually a hobby.
That's definitely
exercise.
A hobby.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. But I used to run across country when I was younger and had to quit every year due to like my knees or hips, and I would like to be able to run long distances and not have, you know, knee and hip pain. So
Bear, I do have some bad news for you.
Yeah, do you have a time machine?
Yeah, you might have to get into the hobby of turning back time before you end up getting to do that one without pain.
First step is like running like 3 feet, you know.
Okay.
If I can do that, and then I can move it to 4 feet the next day, 5 feet. And then I'm running a mile in like a very long time, actually. A very, very long time. So maybe not running. Maybe I have to increase a little quicker. I think we have had this question before. And my old answer was carpentry, but my new answer is running.
Okay. That's a little easier to do, I think. A lot less tools. Yeah, so for me, I want to get back into playing guitar. I took guitar lessons when I was younger. I did really like it, but I didn't, again, have any type of discipline or consistency. And my poor guitar teacher wanted to teach me all the fundamentals, and I was like, I just want to learn how to play this song. And I'd make him listen to a song on my iPod, and then he would write it out and help me play it for an hour. And then I'd come back the next week, and he'd be like, cool, did you practice? I'd be like, nope, but I want to learn this song this week. And that's how that went for over a year.
Wow.
But I do want to get back into it. Who knows if I will end up doing so. Also, tufting. Joe and I went to a tufting place. That's how you make rugs. And you use a tufting gun. And it was unbelievably fun. And in a fit of pure, absolute lack of self-control, we did buy a tufting gun on Amazon. And it is in our house. We have none of the other materials.
Oh. But you have the gun.
Wait,
have the
you
gun.
got the gun?
It's the only gun I own, and I'm happy with it. So yeah, once we get that stuff, people are going to be getting a lot of rugs from us for Christmas and that kind of stuff. That's all we're going to be making.
Right.
Dude, it was actually so fun though.
What's like the max size rug you can make with that?
It whatever as big as the canvas you can
Unlimited?
like, get. Yeah, it's unlimited. It's literally just like a way of. It's just how it inserts the thread basically to like do it. I think there's a tweet on my Twitter where you can see like a quick video of me doing it, but it was really fun. Highly recommend this place, Barry, since you're local. Great day or night activity for you and Destiny is to just go make a rug at this place. It was very fun.
What's the name of it?
I don't know. I don't want to like dox them on our podcast.
Oh yeah.
I'll let you know afterwards. But yeah,
okay.
It was a good time. Okay, next up is Hiru. Hiru asks if you were to become a professional player in a game other than Smite, or if you would want to do game design. Rude that you assume that I couldn't become a pro gamer, but correct, Hiru. For another video game, what would it be and why? We've definitely had this one before, but always happy. We've been doing this for so long. Like at this point, we should definitely be going over old ones. Barra, but yours might be different now based on the conversation that I saw you having in our Patreon Discord earlier today.
Yeah, so I'd use my time machine and go back and play Halo in the golden days of Halo, in Halo 2 and Halo 3. If it had to be right now, it would probably just be like Dota or something like that, because I think there's like
you're so greedy. This guy's greedy.
Well, I mean,
I'm kidding, by the way. This is a good
think you get like millions if you place like 8th, so that's cool. I don't think you actually get millions, but it's a lot of money either way. Or like League or something. I don't know if League would be like more stressful. Actually, no. Apex. It would be Apex, 100%.
Okay, fair enough. Baskin, how about for you?
From the pro player side of things, I would definitely pick probably Valorant, or a recent one is Overwatch 2, which I've been playing a lot recently. It's super fun. I know you've been playing a little bit, Aggro, right?
Yeah, a little bit.
I played Overwatch 1 when it first came out, but for some reason it wasn't as fun as Overwatch 2, but Overwatch 2 is like super fun, and I would definitely just pick like if I were to go pro in another video game, I would definitely pick some type of shooter, because I think that like every like FPS has like so much like transferability, I guess you could say, to like other FPSs. Like if you watch any of these like pro shooter players play any other like big FPS game, they're just automatically insane at it. And I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think those are solid. For me, I'm definitely far too washed to ever be a pro in any game, except for maybe Magic. I really like the competitive side of card games, even though it isn't always all skill, because card games have so much inherent RNG. But I do find the process of testing for a Magic tournament and all that kind of stuff to be very fun. So yeah, I would say Magic, actually. That's an easy one for me. And then Hero also asks, though, I don't have an answer for this off the top of my head. If you were to own your own esports organization, what would you call it? I feel like there's something that...
Oh, that's a hard question.
It's so hard.
Yeah, this is an impossibly hard question, because I think a lot of the top ones are, like, renowned at this point, and coming up with a name, or, like, a 1 or 2 word name that is as catchy as that off the top of my head, it's kind of...
I feel like Hiru or Hiru, I apologize if I've been saying your name incorrectly. I feel like they are starting an esports organization, and they're looking to us for ideas in this situation.
Okay.
Well,
one thing I would do, or I wouldn't do, is there's a lot of esports orgs that have like Team Liquid or like FaZe Clan or like Team Envy. I wouldn't put like team or like clan or like gaming in any of in my name at all. Like I think like a name like Fnatic or like Cloud9, like it's just cleaner.
They are clean, for sure. Yeah, no chance I'm ever putting clan in my esports. That's by far the worst.
Yeah, that's definitely the worst.
Never in a million years. I can live with gaming. I don't love team, but yeah, clan never happening.
To be
in a million
fair,
years.
I'm looking it up. they were established 2010 for FaZe Clan. That was back when like clans were cool.
Nope,
And you
still
wanted,
lame.
like, have
Still,
What?
dude.
Bro,
FaZe
having
Clan
a
was
COD tag.
FaZe good. FaZe Clan bad. It's
Agreed.
simple.
Fair,
Like
fair, but I will say that is when clans were cool.
Yep,
back
and it was still bad even then. So
Yeah, you're just a hater.
true. I really am. Percy asked, "What is your personal favorite SWC so far?" Barry, you're banned from saying season 1.
Fair. Then I'll go with season 2.
Holy crap, he boomed us.
Okay, I actually just think that the storylines were just so much better back then with NA versus EU, and I think since we haven't had that at Worlds, I mean, there's still like, is there an all EU team actually?
Kings.
Kings.
The Kings
Well,
have
Netrioid has
Netrioid.
NA.
Oh, yeah, I guess that's true.
Warriors? No, Neil.
No, Neil. No, I don't think so. I think they're all jumbled up.
Yeah, well, anyways,
Damn.
it just had so much more storyline and like suspense I felt back then going into Worlds events, and now I think I don't know if I'm like getting old, but it's
Well.
it's just different now with like you play the same teams, like the same like 7 teams all year. I guess not Scarabs. They're you play the same or somewhat same teams all year, so there's no like big suspense or big things. I guess I don't know. Not to sound like it's just boring now, but it's just a different time.
Yeah, I do think that a lot of that feeling is that a lot of the recent Worlds have been online. I do think that this year's Worlds, I hope, is going to re-energize a lot of that type of feeling.
Sure.
Sold out crowd and all that kind of jazz. I would say for me, I have a very different perspective on the World Championships as being like part of the broadcast for them. Season 5 I thought was really good. I thought that was a really good Worlds. Splice's win.
Talks about.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, they really don't. I mean, Splice was really good, but Rival was also really good. Energy like losing early was like a big storyline. I mean, obviously they didn't have Yaman and all that kind of stuff, which was really unfortunate. But dude, remember when Homie Faye played mid for Energy at that Worlds? That was wild.
Yep.
Wait, what?
Yeah, because Yaman couldn't come due to some like personal issues. And Homie had to step in, and he like scrimmed, on EU servers, for a little bit, and then he filled in for them at that Worlds, and actually like played fairly well. They didn't do very well, the team. I don't know, that's just such like a mental blow to lose Yaman, that no one had any expectations for them. But yeah, Homie played mid with that team.
I completely forgot about that.
Yep, still got it somewhat up here, up in the old Iron Trap. Season 5 was really good. I have really good memories of season 5. Season 6, I have really good memories of having a very competitive Worlds, but it's also very hard for me. That finals in particular was very difficult to cast because of all of the tech issues at the start, and I literally like can't think about that World without thinking about having to stall for like almost an hour in front of a crowd, which is like the nightmare scenario at the beginning of a World's finals. So, but I remember that one being very good. So yeah, I would say season 5 or season 6, though. I don't know. I can remember really good things about literally every Worlds. Much easier for the Worlds that are in person because so much of those good memories and what I enjoyed about them was like the fan interaction and getting to see everybody and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I could spend like an entire podcast talking about what I remember from all the Worlds from like a broadcast perspective, and we're already way over time. So Baskin, your favorite Worlds?
I don't know if I have a single favorite. I mean, I am more sentimental towards all the Worlds that were at Cobb. Cobb Energy Center and the Ren Hotel.
Mhm.
But from a purely like gameplay point of view, I think it was their second run. I think it was PK's second run where literally every single set that they had was just so close and so insane, and like
Mhm.
it was just the most nail-biting back and forth like suspenseful like gameplay of Smite that I've like ever seen in my life. I think it was their second run, right, where they
Yep,
played
that was
Dragons
season
in the
7.
finals.
Yep, that was season 7.
Yeah, that was actually the craziest run of all time. I think they came back like from 0-2 down like twice or something like that, right? Or maybe I'm remembering it
They were
incorrectly.
down 0-1, I think, in quarters, or quarters best of fives. Yeah, they were. I think they were down 0-1 and had 3 Phoenixes down, and then
Yeah.
won, came back, won that set. Then they were down 0-2. Then they were down. Oh yeah, they were down 0-2. Weren't they down 0-2 against the Dragons in the finals as well? Maybe they won one of those. No, they
No,
won game
I
1.
actually
They
think
won
they
game
were
1.
up to. I think they were up 2-0,
Oh,
and
right.
then they lost 2 games. And I remember thinking they're actually about to be reverse swept, and then they won the last one.
Man, well, that was a dude. That world was so crazy.
Yeah,
I
it was
remember that one
insane.
really well now that you're saying it, because that was the first COVID year, and we kept being like, dude, just imagine what this would have been like in Cobb or at
Mm-hmm.
DreamHack.
Oh, yeah,
like
dude.
what that would have no doubt been the greatest worlds of all time.
Yep.
If that were in person, and unfortunately, we did not get that. But that's definitely a really good answer. That world's easy to forget because it was online and had to be. But man, that was such a crazy world.
I've never wanted to hug Cherry so bad before.
Yeah, that was brutal. Yeah, I
Feel so
remember
bad
that.
for him.
That was so crazy. I also remember. Maybe I'm remembering incorrectly, but I'm pretty sure that Finch casted every PK set that Worlds, and we kept joking that because it was going to be his first finals, that they were all going to go to 5, they were all going to be an hour long, and that he was going to be completely destroyed by the end of it. And then they like all went to 5, they were all super long, and he had like an unbelievable performance, which is so hard to do without a crowd, to like make it feel like it has the same energy as all those other worlds. And have very fond memories of casting with him and how well he casted at that worlds, which definitely comes to mind pretty quickly. But yeah, that'll do it. Again, if you want to have your question of the week on next week's episode, patreon.com/backliners is the place to go. We also have to give a shout out to all of our unreasonably cool people tier in the Patreon, and we got a lot of unreasonably cool people here, so I'm just gonna blast it real quick. We got Bio, Davin, or Dave. I'm so bad with names. Why do I do this? Dylan, Elsa, Evan, Hiru or Hiru, Jake, Joseph, Julian, Mish, Orchid, Seafog, Silent Shadows, Spitaz, and Wolok. Yeah, we got the gang up here among the patrons. Thanks everyone for your continued support. Again, patreon.com/backliners is the place to go for that. And with that, that'll do it for this week. Off week for the SPL. So Barry, you and I have to figure out a plan for next week's episode. But we'll figure something out.
Yeah, what is that? 7:59 next week.
Yeah, 7:59 next week, as we typically do. Yes, Gore, you are right. That other semifinal that you and I did was a nuts one, and that was a really fun one as well. Good eye. Baskin, thanks for coming on. We'll catch you guys next week. Thanks to all the sponsors, Prediction, check out all their shows, all that kind of good stuff. We're way over time. We're heading over to the Patreon Discord right now to go hang out, and we'll catch you guys there. But Bera, you know what to do.
Bye.
Clean.
Bye,
Oh my gosh, that
guys.
was so clean.
Nicely
Holy,
done.
that was
Nicely
clean.
done.